Listening.
Yeah. Hello, and thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm here to discuss something that troubles me as an educator, scholar, and a human being. I know we are in an incredible and unimaginable epoch, but in the midst of the chaos of a pandemic and the urgency of anti racist protests around the world, we have time to mull, to muse, to question. One of the consequences of this extra time is the impetus around the world to tear down monuments of a violent past. What I want to address, which may seem tangential or too ephemeral, grows out of the same impetus. I want to discuss the power entrenched in one of the most widespread monuments to civilization, the very brick and mortar of our understanding of ourselves, words. Yes, words. The puffs of air and sound that we use every day. The abstract combination of letters meant to represent a concrete word. Words. More to the point, I want to examine the power of words. The power of words to hurt, heal, and shape our reality. We need to pay attention to our words, the words we use, the words we ignore, the language we excuse, because these words are not innocent and innocuous. They carry the power to create our reality. My intention is not to convince you to abandon certain words or aim for a political correctness which substitutes words but leaves intentions intact. My goal today is to convince you that we need to pay attention to our words because words have power and we should wield them wisely. Words can hurt or heal. Often in anger or cold contempt, we can wound with insults and derogatory words. We fat shame, slut shame, all kinds of shame with words. We inflict racial slurs on each other like proverbial sticks and stones. We call each other stupid or vulgar or common. We drive these words deep into the gut, sometimes with a callous nonchalance, having spared nary a thought to the size or depth of the injury. Because words can, and all too often do, harm. We unleash these words in the pursuit of our own happiness, security, or revenge. And when we cup our souls in our hands, bleeding from the onslaught, our friends and allies, our linguistic nurses, patch us back up with words, heartfelt apologies, expressions of love and encouragement, poems, songs, stories, words. From this duality arises a persistent argument. Words can hurt or heal based on a person's intent. This is one of the major debates, especially in minority communities, concerning certain words. For example, the word nigger versus nigger. Recently, I had a Facebook conversation where my friend and I discussed the word is dual. For some, it is keener and hotter than lead. The ER is a trigger. For others, as my friend put it, it is a sign of community. The A is for acceptance. And it is not the only word commandeered by the oppressed. Other words like bitch and queer have been commandeered too. Are these attempts harmful or revisionist? To make a meaningful conversation about this, we need to understand words in a metaphysical way as reality shapers. They have the ability to conjure states into being. In some sense, we acknowledge this power on the personal level. Have you ever asked someone to put in a good word for you, to speak to a potential employer or mate for you, to create opportunity with well-meaning words? What about the caution to be careful what you wish for? Or the more positive version, speak it into being. These sayings remind us of the power of words. In another sense, we acknowledge this power on a universal level. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This divine Word formed land and sea, sky, sun, stars, and man. We create with words. The substantive message is true within and without the religious context. We can conjure nations with a declaration, broker peace with talks, create communities with hashtags. This translates into the power of words and language to shape our reality. You see, words are all we have to describe the world around us. Even more instantaneous than your cell phone camera is your friend firing off a description of an event. And this is the order of conversation. Words, then pictures. Words condition us. They tell us what the world is or should be, who we are or could be. So what does it mean when we use oppressive language to mean ourselves? I remember going out on a date with a young man many, many years ago. I remember the conversation there towards racial identity. I remember upsetting him by refusing to call myself Black. I explained that in Trinidad, I am Black. In the United States, I am Afro-Trinidadian. I remember his being frustrated and his response, Black is what they call you, the they being white Americans. He couldn't understand that I chose to call myself what I liked, when I liked. That I could choose at all, that I could object to someone else labeling me. You see, words shape how we view the world and ourselves in it. That is why Ngugi wa Thiong'o argued for writing in African languages first, to erase the hegemony of colonization that insisted Africans had no words sophisticated enough to describe and order reality. That Africans were not sophisticated enough to speak or dream. For many of us in the diaspora, this is a lesson of the languages we speak. We are taught the binary of civilizing European language versus the formulations of our own tongue. Our realities have been shaped by this power binary. We can eschew the language altogether, or like Derek Walcott, turn it into a weapon against oppression. Outmaneuver them in their own tongue. But we must be careful, for to quote Ali ibn Abi Talib, words are under your control until you speak them, but you come under their control once you have spoken them. Yes, we have power over words, but only if we are conscious. As Imam Ali says, a fool's mind is at the mercy of his tongue, and a wise man's tongue is under the control of his mind. If we are not careful, words will haunt us, undermine us, destroy us. This is the same with political correctness for political correctness' sake. It is not enough to replace words without replacing the intent. As Mother Teresa cautioned, words which do not give the light of Christ increase the darkness. But is it enough to replace intent without replacing the word? I started by calling words monuments. We build statues to venerate our heroes. They're historical artifacts for future generations who will dig up our monuments and assume we put them up in homage to the brightest and the best, the ideals of our society and culture. And so, I leave with a series of questions. Does repurposing derogatory words really divest them of their negative power? Does it recenter the hate and power structure behind the word?